Okay, good evening. Welcome to tonight's shir. The halacha shir is entitled "Saying Mah Tovu." It's connected to this week's parsha, of course, because Parshas Bolok it contains the famous pasuk "Mah Tovu Alechu Yaakov Mishkan Esech Yisrael." If you look at the second box, and if you're listening online, then please email me at j.golker@gmail.com. I'll send you the handout. The Gemara in Sanhedrin Kuf Hey Amud Beis says, "Omer Rabbi Yochanan mibrachosai shel Eiser Rasha," from the bracha that Bilam gave Klal Yisrael, Atzelomat Mohoye Beliboy. We can understand what he was actually thinking. Bikesh Leimar, he really wanted to say, Shelo Yehu Lohem Botik Nesius Botik Midrashes, that they shouldn't have Botik Nesius, that they shouldn't have shuls and Beis HaMedrash, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu flipped it, and instead he said, Mah Tovu Alechu Yaakov. Furthermore, he wanted to say, Lo Sishra Shechina Aleihem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu shouldn't dwell amongst you, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu flipped it around, and instead Bilam said, Umishkan Eisecha Yisrael. That's the Gemara in Sanhedrin. So we see that Mah Tovu Alechu Yaakov refers to the Botik Nesias and Botik Midrashos of the Jewish people. Now, in the Siddur of Rabbi Amram Gon, in the Seder of Rabbi Amram Gon, he mentions, and I think it's the first source that I've come across, that when you walk into a shul first thing in the morning, this is the pasuk you say. And even if you don't walk into a shul and this you begin your Seder HaTfilah in the morning, it pretty much begins with the pasuk of Mah Tovu. This is the nusach of Rabbi Amram Gon. Hanichnas lebeis hakneses omer Mah Tovu alechu Yaakov mishkan esech Yisrael v'ani b'rev chastecha avvei beisecha yishtachav alheichel kodshecha b'yirasecha. So that's brought in the Gaonim, in Rabbi Amram Gon. The Darkei Moshe, the Ramah, brings this also in Halacha. He quotes the Kolboy, Kosovo Kolboy, Kesheba Adon Beis HaKnesses, Yom Mah Tovu Vani B'rav Chastecha. So it seems a fairly well-established minhag, a fairly uncontroversial thing to do. However, the Marshal, this is 16th century Poland, the Marshal, cousin of the Ramah, he says, when I come to shul in the mornings, I begin with the second pasuk, and I skip out that one. Why? What could be the problem? Because this is a pasuk that Bilam said. Bilam was a Rasha. And furthermore, he intended that this bracha be a curse. This like it says in the last chapter of Sanhedrin, this is not the right place for it. So the Marshal skipped out Mah Tovu Alecha. Yet we seem to all say it. Now I came across two interesting things. The first interesting thing, I actually just stumbled across this afternoon. I was in a chuppah, Baruch Hashem, lots of chasnas at the moment, and I was in a certain Beis HaMedrash, and I saw this sefer called Slusa da Avraham. So I was curious to know what did he say about Mah Tovu. So he's got the Slusa da Avraham was written by someone called Rabbi Avram Landau, and there are ha'oras by his grandson Rabbi Nachum Mendel Landau. And in the ha'oras on Mah Tovu, he says the following: Roisi b'shal shuvas marshal shekosav shelo lo mepasuk zeh mishum she'omer bilam ayin shal. Okay, that's the above. That's what we just quoted. V'zeh tema. I don't understand the Marshal. The Ha'omer, because the Gemara says in Brachas Yud Beis on Beis, Bikshu likver Parshas Bolok b'Kriya Shema. Actually, Chazal thought so much of these psukim that they wanted to introduce it into our daily saying, our daily recital of Kriya Shema in the Brachas of Kriya Shema. That's how important it was. It's just that they didn't fix it in the tefillah because it's too much of a tircha de tzibur. Shul is long enough and we don't need to make it any longer. The Gemara says that the brachas of Bilam, actually, his initial intention of the klala did come about. However, Mikol Mokum ha'isa b'Sanhedrin, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin Kufay, which is the Gemara in Chelek, the pasuk zeh initial bracha. The one exception was the bracha of Mah Tovu. So says this pirush in the Tzilusa da Avraham, I don't understand the Marshal's objection. Number one, that Chazal themselves wanted to introduce this as in our tefillah. They only did it because of tircha de tzibur. And second of all, all of them, actually the kolas did come about apart from Mah Tovu, so even though the intention was a klal, it never actually came about. Furthermore, there's a pirush on the Siddur of the Yavitz. The Yavitz is a very famous Siddur, and he also, in this pirush called Eight Erez, this is the next box in paragraph 4, he quotes the Tshuvas of the Marshal, and he says he's medaling the pasuk Rishon Mah Tovu Lechel Bilom, etc. Ach b'cholach Siddurim shelefanenu isa. At the end of the day, if you look in all the Siddurim, and this is written, this is on the Siddur of the Yavitz. The Yavitz is some time ago, 150 years ago, whatever. But if you look in your Art Scroll Siddur or any other Siddurim that we've got plenty here, they all have them in there. As you walk into shul, they quote Mah Tovu. So it's become widespread, accepted practice that Klal Yisrael say Mah Tovu in the morning. Furthermore, he carries on with a Siddur Yavitz Hanitzos Mechodosh Mevayer. He explains. Interestingly, the next pasuk that we say, Vani Bechastecha, he says Vani Bechastecha is Keneged Avraham, Shenikra Ish HaChesed. So that refers, Vani Bechastecha refers to Avraham Avinu. Heichal Kodshecha, who Keneged Yitzchak, Shene'ekad al Gabi HaMizbeach B'mokum Kodesh. So when we say Heichal Kodshecha, that's a reference to Yitzchak. B'yirosecha is that's Keneged Yaakov She'oma Manoira HaMokum Hazeh. So it's a beautiful thing. As you're walking into shul and you're saying the pasuk of Vani Bechastecha, you're referring to the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Now, most Siddurim will list Mah Tovu and Vani Bechastecha, and actually they'll say there are 5 psukim that we say. However, some Siddurim set out 10 psukim, and that corresponds to the number in the minyan, and that's a good way of sort of counting the people. You shouldn't count individuals. So you say the 10 psukim as you come into shul, and you've got a minyan. If you've got 10 people, you sort of count off the people by way of the psukim. And some say that there are actually 13 psukim. Now that corresponds to the 13 bowings in the Beis Hamikdash. There's a Mishnah in Shkolim, that's the bottom box on the page. The Mishnah in Shkolim says, there were 13 bowings in the Beis Hamikdash. Where exactly would they bow? There are 13 sha'arim, there were 13 gates, entrances, and each time you would go through these one of these sha'arim, you would actually bow down. And therefore, as we come into shul, there are 13 psukim, according to some Siddurim, which correspond to the 13 bowings in the Beis Hamikdash. Now, just as a postscript, there's a very nice paragraph in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. If you look at the top of the next page, the Kitzur says, when he's talking about the Seder Hayom and coming to shul, he says, mitzvah lorutz k'shehilech al Beis HaKnesses, there is a mitzvah to run to shul. Oile Beis HaMedrash, oile Sham mitzvahs, will run to mitzvahs. V'lochein, afilu b'Shabbos mutzah lorutz l'dvar mitzvah. On Shabbos, even though we've discussed it, I think last week, exercise on Shabbos, you shouldn't be running on Shabbos, okay, that was last week, but for a Dvar Mitzvah, even on Shabbos would be permitted. Avol, b'soich Beis HaKnesses, u'v'soich Beis HaMedrash also loretz. It's not appropriate to be running inside a shul or a Beis HaMedrash, u'v'boy lefnei HaPesach, and when you come to the entrance of the shul, yishohem ma'at, you should just wait a moment, shelo yichnois b'pesach pitom, don't sort of barge in, don't just burst into a shul. You're walking into a holy place. And one person should be a little bit more sort of introspective as he walks into shul, a little bit more, a bit of awe, A-W-E. It's as if you're asking permission to come in. And then you come in. And you walk in as if you're walking into a palace, coming into a king. So there should be a certain trepidation. And I mention that because, when we left the shuls just before COVID, seems like a lifetime ago, and we went through that very strange period in recent, it wasn't that long ago, and we said goodbye to the shuls, it was a very strange experience, sort of not being allowed into the shuls, and then sort of, coming back weeks, months, whatever it was later, and beginning to appreciate what a shul is, and how there should be a certain reverence as we walk into a shul, and therefore saying these psukim, and Mah Tovu and the other psukim, certainly enhances that feeling. So, saying Mah Tovu is based on a pasuk in this week's Sedra. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin that it's a reference to the Botik Nesias and the Botik Midrashes, and therefore, the Rav Amram Gaon, he's the first source that I came across that brings this, that when you come into a shul, you say Mah Tovu Alechu Yaakov. There was opposition to it. The Marshal says it's inappropriate to say it. Bilam said it. It was meant as a klala. However, the defense is there, and like I said in the comments of the Tzlusa Davram, Menachem Mendel Landau, the grandson of the author, he says that I don't really understand that, because after all, Chazal wanted to introduce this parsha on a daily, in the daily tefillahs of Klal Yisrael. They just didn't because of Tirchut Tzibura. And furthermore, the pasuk of Mah Tovu of all the psukim was the one that never actually transformed into a klala. So he doesn't really understand the objection of the Marshal, and so too the Pirush in the Siddur of the Yavitz, he says this is common practice, because at the end of the day, even though he intended for a klala, it is a very, very beautiful bracha, and that seems to be the mainstream practice in Klal Yisrael, to say Mah Tovu as we enter a shul. And whether you say a total of 5 psukim or 10 psukim or 13 psukim, there are different practices. But certainly it enhances, like the Kitzur says, our feeling of reverence as we walk into a shul, understanding this is, Manoira HaMokum Hazeh.